Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you. This week 11 in Schizophrenic Synopsis. It is Christmas week, so Merry Christmas. This week, since it's Christmas week, we thought we'd look at a pair of films that are Christmas related. Black Christmas, Bob Clark, 1974. I'm going to be taking a look at that, and James is going to be taking a look at Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984. But we're going to be looking at these films from the perspective of a commentary track that accompanies the film. And so, well, let's roll right into this. Screen Factory. This is my edition of the film, and this is a great, great edition in terms of the extras and whatnot. But since we're talking about commentary tracks, it rolls with three. One from Bob Clark, another from, where that has John Saxon on it. And the other one, Nick Mancuso, who supplies the voice of Billy, but for the commentary track, he actually does the commentary with Billy's voice. It is hysterical. It is absolutely freaking bonkers. Well, let's set the stage here. 1974, Bob Clark, and we're talking about Margot Kidder's in this thing, Olivia Hussey, who plays our main protagonist, her boyfriend, Keir, who plays Peter, her sort of antagonistic boyfriend. There's a lot of stuff going on in this film. And of course, John Saxon is Lieutenant Fuller. And there's a lot of others in here. It is a phenomenal cast. Of course, this is a 70s film. And because of that, it deals with its characters in such a different way than we generally see today. But these are college kids, and really the basic synopsis is we got a sorority house that is invaded by this psychopath. And man, I'm telling you, it's one of the creepiest openings of maybe any movie. I mean, here we get the perspective, I think for the very first time ever, of the killer approaching the sorority house. And he finds his way in by climbing up the lattice to the side and finds the window to climb into the attic. And then from there, he'll go down into the sorority house and just start picking them off. And it is super, super creepy. And maybe perhaps one of the greatest endings of any, at least genre horror film. I mean, what we're left is insane. But anyways, so commentary track. So I rolled with two, actually. I listened to Bob Clark's commentary and Nick Mancuso's. And Bob Clark deals with this film. As you roll along through it, he sort of points, some of the more technical features of the film in terms of point of view and camera work, and so it's sort of. There's nothing really, nothing that really grabs you or stands out, but a conversation that he has. And I don't know how many out there have ever heard this before, but apparently, somewhere in the process of Black Christmas coming out, John Carpenter, they must have been friends, and he gives Bob a call, and they're talking Black Christmas, and John is like, so let me ask you, are you ever coming out with a sequel to the film? And of course, Bob at that point was like, nah, no, not really. Well, are you sure you're not going to do a sequel? Nah, no, pretty sure I'm not doing a sequel. Are you absolutely sure? Yeah, I'm sure I'm not doing a sequel. So then John asks him, now this is all, of course, from Bob Clark's recollection of the conversation, but then John says, well, if you did do a sequel, I'm just curious, what would you do? And so Bob lays out this story of how probably at some time after the events of this film, Billy will be caught by the police. He'll be sent to a psychiatric hospital for some length of time. And at some point, he'd break out and make his way back. Is this starting to sound familiar? And whether it's another sorority house or whatever, terrorize another group of girls. Well, John then takes that as a launching pad, and of course what we'll have in 1978 is Halloween, which in a really weird, bizarre way is sort of a natural follow-up to Bob Clark's classic 74 flick, Black Christmas, except now it's Halloween. And you know, the more you really pay attention to Billy, the psychopath, and it also helps to hear Nick Mancuso's commentary track, because both Bob Clark and Nick, at times, it's weird. It's like they sort of start to deal with Billy's issues. And sort of what comes out between the two is this idea that he's done something. Like, I'm just sort of going to roll with it. Like, perhaps, he's got issues with his mom, but he's left home babysitting his little sister, his baby sister. And I think the idea is he kills his baby sister because he's just freaking messed up. And so a lot of the dialogue that we get from Billy in terms of the screeching over the phone and you know, what happened to the baby? What happened to the baby? You know, sort of stuff, sort of goes deep to his psychosis, that he has done something and he has sort of repressed this guilt over doing something extremely, extremely horrific in nature, although we're never really given what he's done. Man, this dude's a freaking psychopath. I mean, you know, the only comparison that I have to Billy is our psychopath from Angst, which is interesting because if you watch that film, there is a weird sort of, I don't know, commonality between the two. It is disturbingly weird. But the more you really think about Billy, and the more you just think about Black Christmas and the plot as it unfolds, and what we're left with in the end, you know, it's not a far stretch to imagine Michael Myers being sort of a pseudo-Billy, but years removed from the events of Black Christmas, all the years in a psych ward, having broke out, and he's a different creature. He's more passively evil in a way. He's not as animalistic. I mean, you know, Billy is just, I mean, we see the animal side of him. I mean, he is like an animal, man. The way he scales the lattice, he's like a wild animal that kind of sneaks into the place, and then he just sort of, from his perch on high, he just attacks and attacks and attacks. And he is an uncontrollable animal, much like the psychopath from Angst. We see the animal side. But of course, with Michael, there is this very, very subdued, sort of quiet, passive evil that sort of just watches, leaps, and then quickly back into the darkness. And of course, much of that narrative changes with Halloween 2 and the backstory that we'll get with him. But if Halloween is completely left alone and it never becomes a franchise and it's just sort of left out there like Black Christmas, untouched, I know that's a hard thing to really conceive of. Really what you have in Halloween is a really weird follow-up sequel to Black Christmas, and just a weird, bizarre way. So anyways, Bob Clark, over his commentary, does allude to some of this stuff in his commentary, and he does spend a substantial amount of time on the technical side of things. But with Nick's commentary, dude, he is like Billy. It takes him a while to get into the flow of the film, but by the end of the film, man, he is back in his Billy character, and it is, I mean, freaking hilarious, man. He, you know, whatever scene is unfolding before you, it could be Margot Kidder, man, laying in her bed, and man, he'll just go off on some freaking Superman tangent. It is the funniest freaking crap. Rosemary baby comes in towards the end. Just these off freaking loopy rabbit trails. He goes off and he brings all these other different films in, and he just rambles on, and it is just, I mean, in stitches. I was crying at some points because it was just so freaking funny. And by the time the movie's getting towards the end, man, we've almost got, Nick is almost back in his full-fledged Billy character, and we get just a wonderful shining reference even at the end. And man, I'm telling you, this commentary by Nick has a completely I will never see Black Christmas quite the same. In fact, this is probably, from here on out, will be my most apt go-to commentary track that I will ever listen to, because it is freaking hysterical. Just the things that he says, and I mean, just getting into character mode and just flowing with it. And in fact, even I think at the very end, he sort of says, and just says, man, I'm just too absorbed in this movie right now. And it is, man, I wish we could get that, man. I wish we could get that in more movies, where you get the main antagonist, whoever it is, man. I mean, could you imagine Robert Englund doing a commentary track, but as Freddy to the film? It'd be freaking hilarious. But anyway, so Scream Factory. I have not listened to the John Saxon commentary track. I'm sure it's probably good. And Bob Clark, again, mostly from a technical point of view, but good. But man, nothing matches, man, Nick's commentary track on this. It is absolutely freaking, it's just freaking bonkers at points. And there are phrases and things that now, it's funny, you listen to it and then you go back and watch the film without it, and his character is going to be that much more enhanced now. He's just a freaking wild animal on the loose, man. But anyways, Black Christmas, 1974, perhaps one of the great slashers of cinematic history. I mean, it is, whether it's the first, it does set the stage uniquely for the holiday run of films, beginning with its very weird sort of pseudo sequel, man. Halloween. It's weird to even just think about Michael Myers as some sort of evolved, quiet version of Billy. But listening to these tracks and just watching the film and thinking about Halloween, I just really wonder how much John really thought about Billy's character, in the sense of what he was dreaming up Michael. I know there's the story about being in the psychiatric hospital visiting as a college student, and seeing the kid with just the black eyes and just staring off into whatever, and it sort of became an inspiration to him. But after thinking about that conversation that he has with Bob, it's just I don't know, it's weird, man. It's weird. So I guess in a really weird, sort of bizarre way, man, a great, really weird double feature run with the 74 Black Christmas and then the 78 Halloween. But man, just use your imagination a little bit and just for a moment dispel the entire franchise and just try to imagine this being some sort of quiet, I don't know, version of Billy in Haddonfield, stalking babysitters. It's good stuff. Scream Factory, Black Christmas. This is a great addition. A lot of extras on there. Good stuff. Anyways, Merry Christmas. I hope everyone out there listening and not listening just has an absolutely awesome week with family and whatnot. And man, just enjoy this week. And we will be back at this again. And as always, go Bills.